I have a really weird video for you all today. I've been looking for a reason and the right time to talk about this for a long time now, and it's finally here. You're seeing Castlevania Bloodlines playing right now on the screen. There's a reason for it. What motivated me to make this video today, the forgotten Belmont family tree, or the comments on my last video talking about Sonia Belmont, that's not what this video is about at all. But comments like these kept popping up under that video, referencing these characters that don't exist within the Castlevania games, like Trevor and Sypha's daughters, Anne and Mary. I want to talk about where that information comes from. So there's this document that was never meant for public consumption that was faxed from Konami's Chicago location to EGM, this gaming magazine from back in the day. It's dated February 10th, 1994. And in this document, Konami lays out 9 pages of very detailed and weird story ideas that they came up with during the development of Castlevania Bloodlines, including a very detailed Belmont clan family tree going all the way back from Trevor Belmont in Dracula's Curse all the way to John Morris in Bloodlines. That also includes the Helsing family. I have this document, and we are going to review all its pages. Before I do, I want to make 2 things clear. A, some of this information has made it out into the public space, and some fans consider it canon. It just is not canon at all. You can headcanon bits and pieces of it all day long if you really want to, and Konami can always pull ideas from this and make them canon now, but the reality is that none, or should I say most of this, has not made it into any form of Castlevania media. These are abandoned story ideas that have enormous contradictions to where Castlevania is today. Imagine if Castlevania came to a dead stop at Bloodlines on Sega Genesis. It just ended there. That's where the series was when this was all thought of. I mean, think about that. That's before even Symphony of the Night was around. Officially, we have these huge gaps of centuries between most Belmonts with no canon information. That's what's canon. A bunch of gaps. And B, I am not the one that originally uncovered this document. I want to give full credit for this information to my buddy and friend of the channel, Dongled. Make sure you head over to his YouTube channel after this video and show him some support. He's a huge Castlevania fan like myself, makes a lot of Castlevania videos. I'll put the link in the description. He's the one that originally found this and reported on it. Now, I did get his permission to read his DM verbatim that explains how he came upon this gold mine of information inside one of the walls in Dracula's castle. Here's what he said. I was checking out eBay listings for Castlevania like I always do every week. I came across a listing for a fax from Konami's Chicago office to EGM magazine. I checked out the person's account and they were selling a huge lot of EGM mag layouts along with this fax. I reached out to them to inquire further about it, and they told me they were the widow of the late Andy Barron, a writer for EGM. They explained he was a massive Castlevania fan and he had held on to the fax. She was also selling the layouts, but there wasn't anything Castlevania related in there. I skimmed through the pictures, and when I saw the family tree page, I knew I had to secure this and release it to the public. So now that you know the history of this, let's take a deep dive in here. I won't go into too much detail on page 1 because it's sort of a history lesson on how World War I broke out, which does end up being the setting of Castlevania Bloodlines. It does, however, add some interesting context to the character of Elizabeth Bartley, who we in America knew as Dracula's niece. She killed the Austrian prince, and she sparked World War I because she had a deep hatred against the Austrian imperial royal family. Because in the year 1610, she was captured and imprisoned by the Hungarian king. So she's been holding in this thirst for revenge for centuries. And she needed to start World War I because the chaos over Europe would create the environment in which to resurrect Dracula. That's something we do see in the series a lot. Chaos happens in different regions of the world. Uh-oh, Dracula's back. Now, all the dead from World War I would be the soul's sacrifice to power his resurrection, while she influenced the war with black magic. Now, it doesn't really elaborate on what she did with black magic, somehow influenced the war. Doesn't really elaborate on that. Then the document goes on to conclude Bloodlines and explains that Castlevania was sort of modeled after Star Wars of all things. You have a prequel era, you have a present era, and you have a future era. Trevor Belmont through Christopher Belmont are considered the past era. Curiously, it does mention that in Castlevania the Adventure, Dracula revives as a vicious sorcerer. The present era is considered Simon Belmont's time, and a story that takes place after Simon, starring his grandson, We all know his grandson, right? Wrong. Simon had a grandson named, I'm going to pronounce this as best as I can, Leader, it could be Lighter Belmont, Lihiter. Let's say Lighter. Now, the future era consists of 3 parts. The Dracula novel in some form, starring Quincy Morris and others, Castlevania Bloodlines, and another game taking place in 1940, starring... ? This idea eventually did become Portrait of Ruin, of course. This document also has Dracula listed at some points as Satan or Satan Dracula. It also implies that maybe there was also a Satan character apart from Dracula, but it doesn't make any of it clear. Now, allow me to read about the Belmont clan. People regarded them and were afraid of them as if they were vampire because of their tough mental power and unlimited abilities. Then the legendary family lived remote from the world. The literature tells that they became famous as a legendary noble family of mercenary ever since they'd appeared when the Crusades had been set. That line's interesting because it does set the seeds for what we do see later in the origin story, the canon origin story, Leon Belmont coming off the Crusades. People began to call them as a noble vampire hunter family since they had subjugated Dracula at Wakiana? I don't know what that is. Maybe I'm sure they mean like Wallachia, but it's spelled Wakiana, Wakiana, in the 15th century. That's what it says. This document's got broken English all over it, so some things are just not spelled correctly at all. They had some branching families, many vampire hunter talented persons, or especially from Helsing, Morris, and Eriksson family. 3 Belmont families. Now this is where it starts getting really different from the Castlevania that we know and love. It specifies that these holy weapons, these whips, I use that plural for a reason. So the weapon chooses the person. As one user's dying, it selects the next wielder, and the higher your mental energy is, the stronger the whip in your hand becomes, whatever that means. It also provides a long-sought explanation on why the Belmont clan disappeared. And remember, there was no Symphony of the Night yet, so there was this long gap without Belmonts. And then the Morris clan took over. Here's your explanation. Extremely long period of fights against Dracula resulted in lowering their talent, and they just disappeared in the 19th century. Turns out the vampire killer is not the Belmont family whip. The much feared holy weapon created from alchemy that Leon Belmont originally wielded against the forces of darkness. So you thought you guys knew Castlevania. According to this, the vampire killer was the magical whip that the Morris family had owned for, I quote, a very long time. The Belmont family owned a whip called Excalibur that attacks with fireballs when the user concentrates. That is supposed to be a sword. The Belmont family also used this whip very often in the 18th century. And would you have ever guessed that there's a third whip? The third whip was called Death Mercury. What an awesome name. But we've never seen it. It's just a thing on this paper. So in the final version of Bloodlines, we have Eric Lecarde with the Alucard spear. In canon, we think it's got something to do with Alucard. Most fans do. But that's a story that's never been detailed. In this document, we get some backstory on the weapon. It's a magical spear used by Eric Ricard. When he is in good mind condition, it can shoot pale flames from its tip. So at the end of the 15th century, Dracula's head was cut off with the spear. They put it on display on top of the spear in front of his castle. And this also does specify that it could have some connection to Alucard, although, again, not explained in detail at all. There's also a dragon crest that was used to seal the Alucard spear in the Ricard family temple, and Eric was given a key to it by a mysterious old man. It also says that it's not known whether the Dracula or Bartley family also have dragon crests. I told you guys this was weird. Talking about dragon crests and mental concentration and death mercuries. Now remember the old witch from Bloodlines, Drolta Zuentes? That was completely reimagined for the Netflix series. In this document, she's also a witch that was a servant to Elizabeth Bartley and executed with her. Then she revives in the early 20th century and uses monsters to beat vampire hunters that chase Elizabeth, not too far from the final product. Except her name was Dorothea Zentes. We also have some character biographies. John Morris, labeled here as Johnny Morris. He's bright and powerful, frank, and short-tempered. His favorite foods are beef, barbecue, and milk. but he dislikes chicken meat. He dislikes chicken meat and wine. How are you a Castlevania character that dislikes wall chicken? That's like the Castlevania food. I guess you could argue maybe it's not chicken, maybe it's something else, but still, wall chicken. Come on, man. I lost my place. Okay. He likes fighting and swimming. He dislikes climbing high places. This is not the job for you, Johnny Morris. And he also dislikes cried by woman. I don't know what they're trying to say. He also dislikes cried by woman. Maybe they mean crying women? I have no idea. But we also get a little bit of background on the Morris family. They were active in England and vampire hunters, but I quote, forgot their fate because they couldn't make enough money to live. So they moved to America after the gold rush in California. They became top-class billionaires with a gold mining business. Billionaires in the 1800s. Do you know how much money that is today? Quincy Morris was his father from the Dracula novel, who died fighting Dracula when he was 2. And Johnny Morris also learned sorcery from Indian Morgan of the Cow family. And Eric Ricard, listed on this document as Eric Ricard, is a quiet person that likes fruits. He hates cheese and cake. He enjoys sculpting and dislikes swimming and collecting insects. So we got one guy that can't swim and one guy that doesn't like high places. This is the worst team up ever to fight Dracula. Eric was the second son of 5 brothers. He learned martial arts and fencing when he was 3 years old. That's a bit young. And at 10, he became the best spear fighter in Spain. He argued a lot with his father and he left home at 18 to become a sculptor. When Bloodline starts, he leaves his fiancée Lucy Seward behind to go fight Dracula. But 10 days before he came home, she was bitten by Elizabeth and died. Her body was buried with her head chopped off and her heart pierced by a stake. Damn. Then he swore revenge on Elizabeth. Now this is one of the most drastic changes. We all know who Dracula is, right? Matthias from Lament of Innocence. Well, if you thought that, you're wrong. Here's Dracula's story. Dracula was actually a man from the 1400s named Vlado Zepes. He was the son of a lord in the small country of Wallachia. His family was hated and Vlado was called Dracula by the people due to his brutality in the Turkish War. Now in the year 1447, his father was poisoned and died, and then Dracula was killed. His head was put on a spear in Istanbul, and his body was buried in Bucharest. Now he returned as Dracula and goes to England in search of his body. This is all over the place. Now Elizabeth Bartley killed hundreds of girls in an effort to gain eternal beauty. She was born in Transylvania, Hungary in the year 1580. And she was married away to Nadazi Ferenc in 1575 when she was 15. This also says she was born in 1580. So she married him when she was -5 years old. They moved to a castle and the witch Dorothea Zentes taught her how to torture her servants in the basement of the castle. When Elizabeth was 40, her husband died and eventually she got locked away for killing all those girls. That's an acceptable part of Elizabeth Bartley's backstory because she's modeled after the real-life possible killer. And that's all the backstory of how everything led to Bloodlines. Very bizarre, barely makes sense when in context with the overall Castlevania universe that we know today. And now the secret family tree. This is the real fun part. Let's go through the different branches. I'll do my best to be as descriptive as possible. I know it's going to be hard to follow along because there's a lot. I mean, it branches into 4 different directions. Trevor and Sypha here are listed as Ralph and Cypher. According to this, they had 4 children. Christopher, which makes no sense timeline-wise, but let's go with it. Anne, Frederick, and Mary, spelled M-A-R-R-Y. So again, the 4 Belmont children, Christopher Belmont, Anne Belmont, Frederick Belmont, and Mary Belmont. Let's begin with Christopher's line. I'm going to pronounce all these names as they're written, by the way. Christopher marries Cynthia. Maybe they mean Cynthia. Cynthia. They have 3 children, Sleu, Gerhardt, and Amanda. Gerhardt strangely died with no children. Soleil married a question mark and continued the family line with more question marks. So we know he had children, but we don't know who they are. Now, Amanda Belmont married, it could be Rafe or Ralph Erickson. Amanda and Rafe, as it says, created the branching Belmont family, the Erickson clan. I don't know who they are. Who at the time of Bloodlines have a descendant called Bolt. So by the time of Bloodlines, there is a branching Belmont family member somewhere called Bolt Erickson. Now let's rewind. Let's go back in time now. Trevor's, let's call them his second child, Anne Belmont. She married Royd Morris, creating the Morris clan. Remember, traditionally, the male last name gets passed down. So that's how you end up with these cousin clans. She was Belmont, married someone with the last name Morris, got the Morris clan. So Anne and Royd eventually leads to Quincy Morris, who marries Mienna, and then Johnny Morris is born during the time of Bloodlines. Let's rewind again. Trevor's third child, Frederick. Frederick Belmont marries Janice or Janice. Their child is Simon. Then Simon's grandchild is Leiter, who continues the actual Belmont family name down to modern times. And rewinding one last time to Trevor's fourth and final child, Mary Belmont. Mary Belmont married into what looks like Leo Helsing, which creates the Helsing family. So we've got another branching path that drops the Belmont name, instead adopting the Helsing clan. And that leads to the time of Bloodlines with Van Helsing. I know that was a lot of information, so I'll post it here on the screen briefly, so you can pause and analyze it yourself and have fun with it. It's just a goldmine of good information. Also, leave me another comment with your opinion on all this. What was the most unusual or bizarre thing you learned? I'm sure there's plenty. Let me know. That was the video. And I'd also like to give a big shout out to my Patreon members. Your continued support keep these videos coming. If you'd like your name up here too, get access to exclusive sneak peeks, progress updates, and watch my big videos before the rest of the world, go to patreon.com/GamerThumbTV or click the link in the description and get started. Without support from viewers like you, my content creation journey would simply not be possible. Thank you.